Well, it's Trial Tuesday once again. Today's topic of another serious one. We're talking about criminal domestic violence. You know, our state has one of the highest rates in the country. So what are the laws? What do you need to do to stay safe? Attorney David Ayler joins us now with more. Good morning, David.
Good morning.
You know, this kind of seems like a timely topic, especially in the NFL, and they're dealing with now former NFL player right now, Ray Rice.
Right. It's kind of ironic because we actually talked about doing this topic before
Right.
the latest situation with the video came out that has obviously shocked so many people.
Yeah. Now, what constitutes a CDV in South Carolina?
In South Carolina, there's a number of things. Obviously, the first one that most people are familiar with is physical contact.
Right.
But what a lot of people aren't familiar with is the actual threat of physical contact. So essentially, if one person or another within a home or residence essentially just tries to make the threat, put the person under fear of imminent danger, meaning imminent physical danger, then they can actually be arrested for criminal domestic violence.
Now, can that be through words like a threatening, or I'm going to kill you, or I'm going to hit
Exactly.
you?
Or I'm going to strike you with some sort of, household good item, whatever it may be. But what it boils down to is if the other person is in reasonable fear that that person will actually do that, they can be taken to jail. And I've seen in a lot of cases where the police will show up because they've been called either by a neighbor or someone within the home, and they say, hey, I didn't hit him or I didn't hit her, or whatever the case may be. But however, if the other person says no, but they said they were going to, and I really believed it, they can be arrested for criminal domestic violence.
Wow, and be charged with it and
Absolutely.
go through the whole process. Now, how can you avoid one, and how can, of course, the potential victim keep themselves safe?
Well, as a prosecutor here locally, part-time, and then also doing defense, the thing I see the most is people, spouses and partners, they say they call the police because they want the police just to kind of break things up. And then ultimately somebody ends up arrested for criminal domestic violence.
Because police, they have to do
Right,
that if
exactly.
you call. Okay.
If they come to the residence, I would say 9 out of 10 times they're going to have to arrest someone. They're not principals of schools. They're not your parents. They're not mediators. They're the police. So they're to protect everybody. So if they come to the residence, more likely than not, someone's walking away with handcuffs. So the first thing you need to consider is, if you're in an argument, obviously things can get heated, is the police the call that needs to be made, or is it a situation where the two just need to separate on their own as adults? Unfortunately, emotions, anger gets in the way, and then decisions are made. But if you put your hands on another person and the police are called, you're going to go to jail.
Wow. Okay, now, what if you've been wrongfully charged with a CDV? I mean, how easy is that to, especially if you were wrongfully charged, how easy is that to prove, and do you see that often?
I see that a lot, and it's unfortunate because the laws are so protective of spouses and partners that get hurt within domestic situations. Some people take advantage of that. They will make things up. I've even had cases where people have literally hit themselves and said the other person hit them.
Wow.
So unfortunately, you have to go through the system. I've had to try cases like that, be involved all the way to the end, but sometimes the prosecutor or the police will look into it diligently to the degree that they can determine that the person's not credible and that they're lying.
And now also sometimes too, you find that the other person will just drop charges.
That happens a lot. I would say that happens more than anybody actually realizes. We've seen a lot of good coverage lately here locally with the Post and Courier on some of the different numbers and things that have come up. And what a lot of people in public don't realize is it's not a lack of prosecution from the standpoint of the police or the prosecutor. It's a lack of prosecution on the standpoint of the alleged victim and their participation. In most cases, unlike the one that we've seen with the NFL where there's a video, most cases are very difficult to prosecute without the participants because there's not witnesses, there's not videos. It's usually a husband and wife, girlfriend and boyfriend, whatever the case may be, and no one else is in the home. So if that person doesn't want to participate and be a witness for themselves, then it's hard to move forward on the cases.
Now, one really quick question to really ask about the Ray Rice case. Now that the video has come out, and of course his now wife, chose not to press charges against him, with that video actually showing him striking her, what we see there, can CDV charges be brought up against him now, even though?
No, they can't because he's in the pretrial intervention program, a program we here have in South Carolina as well. That was the decision they made. The prosecution would have had that video themselves. They could have subpoenaed it and got it from a warrant. So he's already in that program. He may have already completed it by now. I'm not sure. So no, they will not be able to go back on him due to double jeopardy. And it'll be interesting to see what comes from the NFL because essentially the NFL had already suspended him. Now they're calling it new evidence. It's not new evidence. It was already there, whether they choose to watch it or not.
All right, David, great information. Thank you
Thanks
very
for
much. And
having
of course, if you're ever the victim of CDV, please, let the police know, and of course, follow through with the whole process. Okay? More after the break, so stay with us.
Trial Tuesday, brought to you by attorney David Ayler.